Hello, hello, welcome. And you have now made it to the final module in the base course. All right. And now is a beautiful time because we get to officially talk about what this course is titled, right? We get to talk about base. Okay. So before we go into talking about base and how that basically is the next level that takes it to that next level from everything that we've learned. Um, I once again want to reinforce we got to let go of the old thought forms. We got to move and really and soak up new information and let go. So, um, and not just that, but you actually got to let go and have fun. When it comes to really viewing this information, when it comes to dating, when it comes to having that right energy, it's all about letting go of control and having fun. The last thing you need is rigidness, stiffness. That energy isn't seductive. That energy is very stagnant. It's frigid. Movement is connected with warmth. The more movement and vibration is in an environment, the more warm it is. You notice that when it's cold, things begin to die because there's not as much movement. And movement is what adds to life. And letting go and having fun is a part of that. So that's big. And now let's tap in. All right. So when we talk about bass, I mean, I hold this very personal. This quote is a quote I read. It was in a book, 50th Law of Power, awesome book by Robert Greene, 50 Cent. But that book, for me, had a lot of great quotes, as always with the Robert Greene book. For those of you who don't know, Robert Greene also created the art of, or I'm sorry, the the laws of attraction, or something like that, I believe, or the art of seduction. My apologies, the art of seduction. That's what he made, and man, I mean, it's a classic. And so, anyways, in this book, he referenced a quote, and it said the following, and this is a quote by Niccolo Machiavelli. He is a legend, obviously. Machiavelli is known, all throughout, in regard to his different thoughts and beliefs and writings in regard to life. But here's one that I think was extremely powerful. It says, "In my view, it is better to be impetuous than cautious, because fortune is a woman, and if you wish to dominate her, you must beat her and batter her. It is clear that she will let herself be won by men who are impetuous rather than by those who step cautiously." So when we look at that, what does that mean? Like what's really going on? You know what I mean? I've heard people, when I posted that quote, reach out to me and say, "Hey, abuse isn't good," you know, but this isn't to be taken literally, but it also does have a literal nature to it, meaning what he's saying is, in his view, from what he's seen, he's saying, let's put away the fairy tales. Let's put away the traditional happily ever afters and the nice guy wins and all of those things. And he says, in my view, it is better to be impetuous. Now, what does impetuous mean? Well, as we can see here, it means to be done quickly and without thought. Okay. And this aligns with um, trusting your first thought. This is being impetuous, is going with what you think and not questioning it, right? So he's saying it is better to move quickly and without thought than to be cautious when dealing with a woman, because he says fortune is a woman. He doesn't even mean about dealing with the woman. He's talking about fortune, how to get what you want out of life, the things you wish to gain and attract in your life. He said it's better to move quickly and go after it than to be cautious, because it is like a woman. Okay, that fortune is like a woman. And if you wish to dominate her, If you wish to dominate your fortune and have your fortune and have what you want, you must beat her and batter her. Now, what does that mean? Beat her and batter her, right? It isn't to be taken literally in terms of hitting somebody. What it means is if a woman is to be taken by, I see it like if she's put to be taken by the super nice guy that's cautious and afraid versus that person that is rough, that might be toxic, rude, whatever, but he's acting and he's moving impetuously, then he, at the end of the day, he will be the one to get the woman. Okay. It is, he said it is clear that she will let herself be won by men who are impetuous, who are who act quickly without thought, rather than by those who step cautiously. Now, there's a couple different elements to this quote that you got to keep in mind. The first thing is he wrote this hundreds and hundreds of years ago. We're talking about, man, over 500 years ago. And he noticed this about women even back then. So what is that saying? That's saying that this nature is embedded into the nature of masculine and feminine energy, because this is something that has been operating for hundreds of years. He's noticing that the person that is dominant and acts on what they want gets more success than the one who acts cautiously. And this is a rule of nature, right? And we'll tap in more into this. But that is one big thing to me. This is over 500 years ago, and yet he is noticing the same things. And I think it might be 500 years ago. I didn't look too deeply into his origin story, but I'm aware of some of his quotes and some of the things he's done. But at the end of the day, this shows you that this passed the test of time. This isn't some new age idea, modern idea. No, that's not how it works. But then on another level, I want the ladies to understand that see this. Whether you know this or not about yourself, we're not saying that just because that as a woman, you just would let somebody beat and batter you over a nice guy. We're not saying that. But in the context of what he's saying is, ladies, you also have to respect that impetuous nature of the masculine energy, right? So either my lady, men, whoever, but whoever is acting in the feminine energy dominant, whoever is comfortable in being the more feminine energy partner, you have to allow the space for this impetuousness to exist. And when we talk about attraction, you got to allow a man to be impetuous. If he is approaching you, if he is showing desire, if he is coming after you, don't be upset about that. Don't try to block that. You got to embrace it, that this is an element of him expressing his masculine energy, and you get an opportunity to feel that attraction. Now, why, did he say this? Why is it triggering women to go with this guy over the other? We'll delve into that, in the coming slide. So let's keep rocking out, and let's check out the next slide. So, masculine versus feminine energy. I'm like, hey, let's talk about it. You know what I mean? When it comes to masculine and feminine energy, one thing that we got to keep in mind that's really big is, these energies are constantly interacting with each other. And it becomes a situation where, it requires you to have the understanding of how they operate. I believe there's so many people operating in life right now that don't even know that masculine and feminine energy is a thing. They don't know how masculine and feminine energy comes together. They don't understand the yin and yang. And you got to understand, this is the dance of attraction, of life, of procreation, right? You must understand the dance, because there is a dance that is going on, all right? And that's very, very important. So that's key. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna watch a couple videos to have an understanding of these two energies. But to keep it simple, masculine energy is the force that goes forward. Feminine energy is the force that goes backwards. Masculine energy is the yang, which means it goes out. It is focus. It is the physical. It is light. It is what you can see. You know what I mean? It is moving in one direction and creating uh, direction. Masculine energy is the force of the sun. It is the light. It shoots out. It goes forward. Feminine energy is the yin. It's the in. You know, a good way to look at it is, you know, a male has a penis which goes out, and a woman has a vagina which receives. So we're looking at, you know, if you're just going out and out and out, there's no place for you to have a home. There's no place to settle down. You're just a line. So it requires you to have a point of origin and a point of ending, right? The feminine energy acts as that point. The feminine energy is retaining and holding a space, and the masculine energy is going forward. And together, it's a dance. It's go forward, it's stop. It's go forward, it's stop. It's a balance, right? It's give and it's receive, right? It's give direction, be confident, be strong, and then feminine energy is let's relax, let's connect, let's, you know, work together, let's talk, let's communicate, right? One is, you know, masculine energy is the force that acts, you know, it creates, right? It's shooting out like the male shoots out sperm, you know what I mean? And it goes out, and the feminine energy receives it and cultivates it, and it grows. So these are just some different ideas when it comes to masculine and feminine energy. But what I want to do is let's touch on a couple videos to kind of shed some light on the masculine feminine energy dynamic, because a lot of people have different ideas about it. So let's check this out.
Masculine attracts feminine and feminine attracts masculine. What does the world think is masculine energy? It's the highly successful, A-type, highly driven, Ferrari, Rolex wearing masculine. I hate to break it to you guys, but that is the most scared man on the planet. The man who is in his divine masculine doesn't need the Ferrari, doesn't need absolutely anything. So what is happening is the wounded woman is attracting the wounded man. Only the healed woman can attract the healed man. Only the divine feminine can attract the divine masculine. Masculine attracts feminine and feminine attracts masculine. Yep. What does the world think?
All right, so that's big. So that's one idea I wanted us to touch on, is that, you know, masculine energy isn't your job, your car, what you got. No, no, no. Those are all descriptors of what you should be doing from some modern perspective or whatever. No, masculine energy is something that goes way back in time. Masculine energy represents direction. It represents force going forward. It's about acting and moving forward and not looking back. Feminine energy is about looking back, going backwards, receiving, slowing down. Let's slow down. Let's take time to really absorb what we're looking at. It moves slower naturally. Feminine energy is the yin, masculine energy is the yang, and they go together, and it's a dance. Okay. Now let's check out another video that sheds some light on some of the issues that women face when it comes to understanding this concept. You know, in today's day and age, we deal with a lot of women that are exhibiting, you know, strong masculine energy, and then we're dealing with a lot of men that are exhibiting a lot of feminine energy, and you know, and these are, and then we deal with, uh, you know, that's really the case. You know what I mean? And I was just gonna say, you know, you have some people who, doesn't matter if you're the same sex couple, it doesn't matter. Someone is generally operating more in the masculine energy, and someone is generally operating more in the feminine energy. But what we're seeing is this imbalance that people have within themselves, this lack of understanding of masculine and feminine energy, really becomes problematic, you know, and it really presents a lot of challenges. You know what I mean? So, one thing I wanted to do is kind of look at a definition of masculine and feminine energy, and I'll read out a simple definition. Now, a lot of different people have their own definition as to what masculine energy is and what feminine energy is, but we'll just look at a simple rule of thumb. Masculine energy is often described as an invisible, powerful force that is related to traits such as ambition and logic that have been stereotypically associated with men. Now, that's true. It has been stereotypically associated with men, But the reality is that, um, men have physical characteristics that reflect masculine energy, right? Like I mentioned, the way, our womb is different than a woman's. A woman has a womb, as a man, it's different setup here. We produce more testosterone. Women produce more estrogen. We have both, but nature has guided our physiology and our biology to kind of push us in a direction based on those chemicals, right? And also, I mean, that's what produces life. You know what I mean? You look at it, and I think we take for granted the fact that men and women are the only two, you know, sexes in terms of when you're born with the makeup of a male or a makeup of a woman, quote unquote. But there's no third species. You know what I mean? Now, of course, we've adapted to, you have the ability to, have a different gender. You have the ability to tap into what feels more natural to you. But there's no third, fourth, fifth different things. It's just these two forces at play, and these are the two forces that create. And you got to think about it. That's very, very powerful. So now let's touch on this other video and take a look at this.
Too masculine. You have to understand that independent nature, it creates a rigidness. All right, it doesn't create a softness. All right, it's very difficult to be so independent and be able to successfully, consistently walk in your femininity. All right, they kind of conflict with each other. In a relationship, you're extremely capable of being feminine. All right, or if you feel like you can trust the guy, you feel like you can be feminine. He just needs to show up the right way. But I have not seen a man who's in love with a woman who does not want to pour into her. And therefore, it's not that that man does not, again, value the independence, is that he wants to see a balance. When a man is viewing you as too masculine, you have to understand that.
All right, so that's big. So I just need people to understand that, he touched on some different things there, but, just because, a man, quote unquote, is in their masculine energy doesn't mean they don't tap into their feminine energy. You see, it's very flexible, and at different times, the man may be called to be more in his feminine energy, and the woman might be called to be more in her masculine energy. But the reality is just understanding that these energies exist, right? And just by knowing that, you have a huge notch over everyone else, because you understand in those situations where you might have disagreements, where you might notice a guy being kind of weird, or let's say you notice a woman's being kind of weird. You're like, what's going on? You can look at these energies and be like, oh, that's why she's not being as expressive. And look, men operate in their feminine energy when they're not being communicative, when they're holding things back. Women operate in their in their feminine energy, doing similar things. I mean, when you understand what's going on here, you also get to see, okay, this guy, when he's not approaching women, when he's not communicating, when he's afraid to talk, when he's afraid to express himself, you see, oh, this man is more in his feminine energy. And when you see a woman that is, talking to everybody, being, aggressive, being, in a situation where she might be very opinionated, says what she feels, very strong energy, personality, she's going to need a strong personality to match that. Or a lot of the time, she's going to need somebody that's in his feminine energy to match her. And a lot of the time, you'll see that. So the key thing is, when you understand these energies and when you utilize them correctly, right, amazing things happen. But when you utilize these energies incorrectly, when you're as a man and you're not utilizing your masculine energy at all, or if you're a woman that is, not utilizing your masculine energy properly, or not harnessing your feminine energy, and you're being too much in your masculine energy, there's going to be a lot of problems, because now you're battling nature in the game of attraction. As a man, I mean, it's the same thing. Being timid, not expressive, these same things exist. Okay, and that's very important for you to understand. And now I have one more video I want to show you, talking about masculine and feminine energy, that I think shed some light with the same gentleman, actually. So let's check it out.
Do you love in the masculine?
Hold on. All right.
Loving in the masculine starts with
How do you love in the masculine?
Loving in the masculine starts with removing the fear of losing this woman. It's one thing to go to a woman and say, oh my gosh, I love you so much. Please don't leave me. I can't live my life without you. Versus, listen, I love you. You are special to me. You mean the world to me. And I'm here to make this work. One comes off very weak, very fragile, and it's unattractive. The other comes off strong, but still expressive. The woman's still going to feel very loved. The other key to loving in your masculine is you must remain in your purpose. That's what makes you you. And the reality is that's what she loves about you. How can she feel safe with a man who walks away from his purpose? How can she feel like you're going to make wise decisions? What masculine energy are you going to exude if you're not walking in the confidence of your purpose and the focus of your purpose? She's not going to want to walk away from that.
All right, so there we go.
How do you?
And boom. I think this was very important because, once again, it helped delineate the difference between the masculine and feminine energy. And it just shows how the two complement one another. You got to understand, I don't expect you to understand everything about masculine and feminine energy, but what I do want you to understand is that there is a difference at play. Let me read to you another explanation that kind of sheds some light on it. Feminine energy refers to a specific set of traits considered to be the opposite of traits associated with masculine energy. Your masculine side gets expressed when you're working toward a goal, making progress, getting things done, and pushing forward. Your feminine side gets expressed when you move with the flow of life, embrace your creative energy, dance, play, and attune to your internal processes. So all that's going on here is it's just expressing different examples of the energy and what it would look like. But none of these things necessarily describe masculine and feminine energy at its core. And that's what we're going to do. We're going to take a little deeper look into the core of masculine and feminine energy. So now let's talk about base, all right, and how this correlates with masculine and feminine energy. Because, man, when you understand, and I'm about to read to you, this is where it's about to get deep. So I need y'all to get ready. I need you to take some notes because this is where I'm about to get deep now. When it comes to this, right, I think it's very important to understand that basing is all about social freedom. Okay. That's what the game represents to me. Learning the science that you're learning, it isn't just to get a partner, right? You're learning this because you want a certain freedom internally. It has its own spiritual side to it. You see, social freedom is a lost art in today's world. Think about how routine your life is every day. What spontaneous things have you been doing? What spontaneous things have you been dreaming of that you want to bring to life, right? Like, this is the things that I kind of want you to consider. And here's where I'm about to break down some powerful concepts to you in regard to base. All right. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to read to you a little bit of what I've written in a book that I'm currently working on that's going to be built on this concept about base. Obviously, in a book, you get really down to it. So I kind of just pulled out some quotes. But let me just mention this when it comes to the masculine and feminine energy. Just a few things I want to touch on one more time when it comes to this one right here. All right. Number one, natural polarity. Polarity is when two separate things come into cohesion. That's what masculine and feminine energy does, and it creates life. It's plus and minus. It's that charge that creates electricity. So you notice that when you flirt, when you approach women, you feel this electricity unlike none other. It's almost like alchemical. It's almost like a healing energy. It feels so good. And for the woman as well, flirting, playing around, talking, socializing, it has this electricity to it because it's embedded in the nature of what we do. And you feel it and you experience it when masculine and feminine energy interact. And that's what you're tapping into. Just by talking to a woman and having a normal conversation, it's still triggering. And one thing I always say is that attraction is always in the air. Okay. This is an energy that has preceded us, and it will exist after us. This energy works throughout, nature, and it's very important for you to understand that. Look, it doesn't matter if it's your girlfriend, it doesn't matter if it's your coworker, it doesn't matter if it's your teacher, whatever. Attraction is always in the air, right? Oh, my girlfriend's hanging out with my best friend, and everything's all good. I mean, they wouldn't do that. He's my best friend, right? But guess what? Nature is always at work. I always say, if you look out in nature right now, if you look at some squirrels, does a squirrel and his squirrel girlfriend, do you think a new squirrel that's coming into the environment cares? That like, you think the squirrels are walking around like, oh, that's my wife? No, no, no. In nature, that stuff doesn't matter. It's all primal. You know what I mean? And so that's very important to understand. And what we want to aim for, when I say that there's a dance to masculine and feminine energy, look at it like if you're doing salsa or if you're doing any kind of dance. If the masculine energy is being forceful and trying to force her to move around, it's going to be an uncomfortable dance. But if he's able to work with her, guide her in the right direction, now that allows the woman or the person that is in the feminine energy side, they can just go with the flow. You see, there's a beauty to the feminine energy because it's about not forcing, not having to do everything, being able to lay into the experience. Imagine being able to be on a beautiful flight or a nice car ride. That's the energy you feel when the driver's doing a great job and you feel comfortable and you appreciate them for doing that. That's what the masculine is doing for the feminine. And that's the beauty of being in the feminine. Just like if they're dancing, she could just go with the wave. But the feminine, in order to dance very well, they have to also be receptive and listen. When he makes little cues while they're dancing to say, no, spin this way, she has to just go with it and roll because she's so much in tune with him. She could just go with the flow. So that's what you're looking for. If you have somebody that's trying to do their own dance, that's supposed to be the masculine energy, he's going to mess up the flow. He's going to be forcing her around, jerking her around. It's going to be uncomfortable. It's going to feel like over dominating. And then if the woman is not being receptive, he's trying to guide her this way, she goes that way. He's trying to then go that way, she goes that way. She's not listening. She's freestyling. Now he can't dance with her. And that is what is going on when the masculine and feminine energy isn't operating correctly, And when you and the other person are doing that, you two aren't aligned, right? What we want to do, right? And this is what's very important with masculine and feminine energy. In today's day and age, there's this silent battle between men and women that has been brewing for a while. And, masculine energy and feminine energy are supposed to operate from a place of friendship. The two energies are separate energies and they come together and intertwine and then they become one. And that's it created through friendship. When a man and a woman are able to be friends, or when the masculine energy and the feminine energy are able to be friends, it creates this unique bond with one another where they're able to provide each other with different insights, help each other with one another's blind spots, get the bigger picture. You get to have the full circle right here, right? Instead of just the half. But when you see the energies trying to get into competition, now they're fighting one another. Now it's friction. And what does that do? That doesn't help anything, right? So that's very important that you understand that with these two energies, they are meant to operate, collectively from a place of union and friendship. That's in the dating and attraction stage, you're supposed to be focused on building friendship, not battling somebody and saying, oh, I'm gonna get this dude to pay for this, or I'm gonna get this girl to do this, or I just want to. No, it's about friendship. It's about fun. It's not about the serious battling. Oh, you got to do this to prove. No. If there's battling going on, then the right frequency isn't in place, and that's very important to understand. And then finally, the energy you want to go for is a natural pull between the two of you. Now, this is very, very important, right? I want you to write this down. The energy that you want to go for when it comes to dating and attracting somebody and the way that it should feel, the energy you want to go for is a natural pull between you, whether you're the masculine or the more feminine energy, and the other person. There should be a pull. There should be this thing where the two of you are naturally drawn to one another like a magnet. It should not be a situation where one person is super attracted, and chasing after the other, and the other showing no interest, that means something's off. The energy that you want to look for, right, is, man, I really like, I'm really liking her energy, and she's being reciprocating it. Or for the woman, it's like, man, I like this guy. This dude's awesome, and he's reciprocating that. If you're in a situation where it's not being reciprocated, that's where you end up in a scenario where you get taken for granted, where you're trying to chase, where you're doing things to compromise yourself, And then when you're dealing with somebody that you're not feeling magnetic as well, and they like you, there becomes a situation where it's like, you're not able to give them what they need. So we got to know what to look for, and this is the energy we're looking for. It should not be one-sided, because if it's not one-sided, you're not going to get this balance that you see with these two sides. So that's that. And then the final thing I'll say when it comes to the masculine feminine energy is the masculine energy represents light. The feminine energy represents the dark. Light not meaning good and dark not meaning bad, because dark is extremely powerful and light is actually comes from the dark. And the dark is actually the hidden, the mysterious, the deeper truths, the depth, the mystery. A good example is the sun and the moon. The sun shines bright. You see it every day, but the moon at night reflects the light, right? And we're going to talk a little bit more about that. So that is that for the first part of this module. And now get ready, because we're going to tap into some very, very deep information related to base that I think you need to get your pen and pads ready for. Peace.